Of our salespeople on the phone. They both there. Okay, so we'll call this evening's meeting of the Borough Council to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thanks for coming out, everyone. If I had known, I would have prepared like a 3-hour speech when I had the chair for a moment, but I did not prepare. So we'll get right to this. Obviously, the first meeting of a new year after elections, we have the opportunity to reorganize council. So my duties this evening in starting the meeting are the first step is to open up nominations for council president. So does anyone have a nomination?
I would like to nominate David Bria for president.
Okay, so the way that the nominations have worked, there's been a nomination made for councilperson David Bria. The way that nominations work is we handle those nominations as soon as they come in. There is no second needed, so we take the nomination and call for a vote. So we'll move to a vote for the nomination for David Bria for council president. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Any opposed? So as I hear it, the motion passes unanimously. Congratulations.
Thank you.
You got it. My time here is done.
All right, following the same procedure, we will now ask for nominations for the office of council vice president.
I'd like to nominate Caroline Thompson.
All right, we hear a nomination for Caroline Thompson for the position of council vice president. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Are there any opposed? Any abstentions? Hearing none, motion carries. Congratulations, Madam Vice President. All right, with that, we will move into our normal council meeting. Marianne, if you could resume with our roll call at this point.
Sure. Ms. Thompson?
Present.
Ms. Siegel-Morris? Here. Mr. Bria?
Here?
Mr. Ross?
Here.
Mr. McCann?
Here.
And Mr. Campbell?
Here.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Members of the audience may notice that we are shy a council member at this point, and I will acknowledge our solicitor, Mr. Klosser, to explain the procedure with the situation we're facing.
Yes, the Borough Code actually has a specific provision that deals with the situation where someone is elected to serve in council but does not qualify by taking the oath and otherwise joining council during the reorganization process. So that provision states that council may declare a vacancy after 10 days have elapsed since the beginning of the term. You know, the beginning of the term is today, so 10 days from now, then this council will have the ability to declare a vacancy and then fill it in the normal course as provided in the Borough Code.
Thank you, Mr. Klosser. Many of you may have seen that Councilman-elect Michael Schumer publicly declared via local news that he does not intend to assume the office of council. However, as Mr. Klosser explained, we are obligated to wait at least 10 days before we can declare that vacancy. So at our next meeting, we will announce the procedure that council will take to fill that seat for a period of 2 years up until the next municipal election, when there will be an election for the remainder of that term. All right, carrying on with our scheduled agenda, we need to reappoint our borough professionals. So I will at this time ask if there is a motion to reappoint Remington Vernick as the borough engineer with costs not to exceed the hourly rates detailed in the schedule provided to council.
So moved.
All right, motion was made by Ms. Siegel-Morris, seconded by Mr. Ross. Is there any deliberation or questions from council? Anything from the public?
I'd just like to say that, on the record, we are aware that there have been glowing reviews of the engineer and also some constructive criticism from residents, given timeline on projects, billing. We are working closely one-on-one with Remington Vernick. We've had conversations over billing, conversations on specific issues on projects, and we have seen positive movement in the concerning areas. Manager Johnson's keeping point on that. So I just wanted to make sure that we bring that up since it has been mentioned quite a few times during council meetings.
Thank you. Any further comments? Great, hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Are there any opposed? Any abstentions? Hearing none, motion carries 6-0. Congratulations, Mr. Foley. Next up, we need to reappoint the Borough Solicitor. So I would likewise ask if there is a motion to reappoint Curtin and Hefner as the Borough Solicitor with costs not to exceed $150 per hour.
So moved.
Motion is made by Ms. Thompson, seconded by Ms. Siegel Morris. Any discussion from council? Anything from the public? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. 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 Are there any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries 6-0. Congratulations, Mr. Clausen.
Thank you.
We can clap. All right, next agenda item is community announcements. This is an opportunity for council or members of the public to share items such as events for the public good. Anything from council? Same offer to the public? All right, hearing none, we'll roll right into public comment. This is the portion of the meeting during which members of the public may address council regarding items that do not appear on our agenda. If you wish to address council regarding an item that does appear on agenda, you'll be given the opportunity to do so during council's deliberation of that business item. Members of the public are asked to please come to our front microphone, state your name and address for the record, and keep comments to 3 minutes in length. Any public comment tonight? Mr. Carlson.
Good evening, Dr. Carlson, 14 Greenfield. I have a question. It's probably pointing towards the solicitor can maybe help. Given that the pace of the virus, as we're all sitting here in masks, it was my understanding that because there's no emergency order, the ability for any of our meetings on planning commission, ability to conduct formal business via Zoom is not allowed. And I want to understand if that's true. And then I want to ask if we have a quorum of our commission who's physically present at a meeting, can we Zoom in the other couple of people? Is that an allowable way to do a meeting? Or can we, if we don't have applicants, in other words, we're conducting business but not formal applicants coming to present, are we allowed to do it via Zoom? Because I just think maybe January and February is going to be, might be a rough time. I was just wondering if there's any leeway on that, or am I interpreting it wrong?
No, I think you're interpreting correctly. Under state law, there really is no provision currently in place to allow for, public meetings via Zoom or some other, internet platform or what have you. But the other, there's got to be some leeway, especially for a commission like yours. I think if you do have a quorum present and, a couple people can't be there or choose not to be there because of the situation, I think Zoom is one way to have them participate. Now, again, if there are applicants, that's maybe a different story. So you probably want to try to have everyone there when there's an applicant present, for action. If there's no action being taken, then it's less important that everyone be there. That's if you kind of take that reasonable approach and use common sense.
Council meetings, because I know it seems like it's
Council meetings are a little more difficult because they always have action items on their agenda. So it's it's a little less likely.
Generally been following the rule that we should have a quorum in person.
Right.
The remainder can call in, which is sort of what we're doing tonight with two on the line, but we have a quorum here physically present.
Yeah, but basically the Sunshine Act requires that the public have a reasonable way to participate in the meeting. So that's the other thing you have to keep in mind.
Okay. I'll try to do that. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other public comment this evening? Going once, going twice. Close the public comment portion of the meeting. Next up is consideration of our consent agenda dated for today, January 3rd. We have 3 items on here today, approval of the minutes for our December 21st meeting, approval of the bills list dated for today, January 3rd, and also the reappointment to borough boards and commissions. There are several reappointments that have been submitted to council in writing prior to this meeting. Would any member of council like one of these items to be considered separately from the consent agenda? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda for today, January 3rd? Motion was made by Ms. Thompson, seconded by Ms. Siegel-Morris. Any discussion from council?
Just wanted to add to the list of appointments that Paula checked with all of the committee chairs and that the people up for reappointment were recommended by the committee chairs to be reappointed.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries 6-0. Chief Kelly, your report.
Thank you, sir. My first item, I'd like to congratulate all the council people that were either elected or re-elected and took their seats tonight. We in the police department appreciate the volunteer efforts on a monthly basis. Second is our December 2021 monthly statistics. In December 2021, we investigated 607 calls for service, issued 5 parking tickets. We issued 44 traffic citations, issued no criminal citations, investigated 3 traffic accidents, and made 4 arrests, 3 of which were for DUI. For the year, we investigated, for the entire year of 2021, we investigated 6,189 calls for service, issued 30 parking tickets, issued 830 moving citations, 11 criminal citations, investigated 85 motor vehicle accidents, and made 32 arrests, 10 of which were for DUI. And with that, I'd like to commend the officers who worked the New Year's Eve holiday. We had a very active evening on the 31st into the 1st where we had actually 3 DUIs in a town that sees about 10 a year. So I'd like to commend those officers who worked that night. And that concludes my reports.
Thank you, Chief. Manager Johnson, do you have a report tonight?
Very brief. I just want to thank everybody for their patience this past weekend. In the coming weeks, it sounds like it could be a tough one for our office, especially being so small. We do have the offices still, the doors locked, we're in there, so if we need something, we let them in. I think we might run that thing for a little while longer. Because if we all go down in the office, we're so small, we're going to be in trouble. We did start our 2021 audit already with our auditor, started sending him some information. And that's about all I have to report tonight.
All right. Thank you, Manager Johnson. I'll just reiterate what was already said. Office, we are small-staffed. COVID is certainly having a resurgence. We encourage everyone to communicate with their office remotely if possible or by appointment. If you need to come in, we are open, but mindful of how easy it is for a full-time staff of 1 with 2 part-timers to go down. All right. Next on our agenda, engineers report and project updates. You can take them 1, 2.
All right, thank you very much. I just want to thank you for the reappointment and looking forward to this year coming up. For general updates, we didn't issue an updated report this month, but we'll be following up in February to issue one out regularly every month and coordinating that with following the council as well. For general updates for Yardley Walk, we've been coordinating with Lennar regarding the winterization, and it looks like they're trying to schedule to be out there tomorrow, so we let Paula know of that recent update for that project as well. So that's moving forward. For the ML7 project, we're still waiting a schedule for that work to proceed. So we'll just keep following up with that stuff. And that's it for the engineer's report. If there are any questions, I could just roll into the file update.
I have a quick question. Just on the ML7 report, is there a time frame to get that scheduled? Is there a time you expect it by?
They've been really, just due to the scheduling of the contractors is what it's been, relayed to us of trying to get that going. As well as getting the equipment on site is what we understand is the issue with that.
Okay, thank you.
And we did have a meeting in the beginning of October for a construction kickoff. So at that time, it's just been waiting for the contractor to be able to move forward and mobilize. And we were notified just before the holidays that they were mobilizing for the work. But they have not been able to give us a schedule yet to do those repairs. And they do not have approval right now for the planting. That was, was one of the other notice of violation, which is one of the violation items.
Thank you.
So,
All right, well, moving to project updates then.
okay, yeah, I'll be brief on this. Regarding the Mary Yardley Bridge, we are working on submitting back to the PHMC, and we did receive drawings for the bridge project as well. And so I'll share those with Paula to move that forward. The Pico property, there was any new updates. The last thing we spoke about was getting the Pico phase 1 is what we were looking for. And for the North Main Street sidewalk phase 2, we're still waiting for PennDOT so we can do the advertisement. And for the phase 3, I'll be issuing out a proposal to do that design work shortly.
Thank you. Any questions on the project updates? All right, we'll close that portion of the meeting. Mr. Klosser, anything to report tonight?
Nothing to report other than to say thank you to council for the opportunity to continue to serve as Borough Solicitor. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. Mayor Harding, any report tonight?
No report, just one more congratulations to everyone, so no report.
Thank you. So for council member reports, given that we are down a member, not going to be assigning the committee assignments tonight. We're going to wait and see how that resolves. The major committees are still, for the most part, assigned by members that carried over from the last council. But I will still just go down the line and give all the members present any opportunity to report on action items that may have occurred since previous council. So, begin with Ms. Siebel-Morris, anything? Ms. Thompson?
No report.
Mr. Campbell, I'm guessing nothing, but if you have any words, you can share them now.
No report, thank you.
All right, thank you. And online, Mr. Ross, anything?
No report.
Mr. McCann, same to you?
No report.
All right, thank you. I'm going to break the trend. I do have a couple items I want to review with council. Some of you may have noticed in your packets that the information presented around our reappointments were a little bit different tonight, and this is a new system for getting items on agenda that I'd like to move forward with during this next session, the 22-23 session of Yardley Council. So I will make sure that everybody has access to the blank resolution request form, and the expectation is that when council is making a vote that's going to spend money, one of these should be filled out and then sent out with that agenda packet. One of the big pieces of feedback that I received during the last budget process from council, from members of the public alike, was that council has a little bit of a tendency to spend some money here, spend some money there, spend some money over there, and at the end of the year, some of those line items were exceeded. So one of the things that this new process is going to do is require the council member who is sponsoring the motion to look up the budget code, confer with our borough manager to make sure that there is actually budget left on that line item, and then come before council with a fixed price asking for the authorization to make an expenditure. We all get that budgets sometimes don't line up with what you actually have to do. So it's okay, members of council, if you have an expenditure that's not budgeted or it's going to exceed the line item that we agreed on at the beginning of the year. But that's a discussion that council needs to engage in when they decide to spend those additional funds, rather than just approving it on consent agenda via the bills list every week. So resolution requests can be filled out by staff. So I'm going to use Chief Kelly as an example. If we have a budgeted item to buy a new police vehicle for the year, Chief would probably fill this out. He'd put the cost, he'd put the budget code, he would list Ms. Siegel Morris as the sponsoring council member, since she's chair of the Public Safety Committee, and then that would be presented to council with any supporting documentation, whether that be the quote, be a memo of support, and that's what is voted on. The final piece of this, and this was also included in the council packet, is sort of a blank template for a passed resolution. So when we pass motions that spend money, we're going to call them resolutions. Our first one tonight was to appoint the borough engineer, because that has a cost associated with it. Second one tonight was to appoint the solicitor, also has a cost associated with it. After the vote, after the meeting, either Paula or Marianne, who's taking our minutes, will just fill in what was the item we voted on. Could be a little bit different than what's proposed. Sometimes we make amendments as we deliberate, but it will be written out, it will be dated, signed, and then included in the minutes that are approved at the following meeting. That way, when council allocates these funds, there's a very, very clear record of what we're spending it on, what budget line it's going to, and I think importantly, what those do not exceed numbers are. So are there any questions from council on that new process?
Is there a minimum amount of expenditure that would require this, or was it for any dollar amount whatsoever?
So generally, when things come before council, it's for a couple reasons. One is if they are triggering any of our bid thresholds. So projects over a certain amount need to go up to formal bid. Some other projects need to get quotes. But generally, this is when council would be taking a vote. So routine expenditures that we budget at the beginning of the year, Paula places an order for paper for the copier. This is not for that sort of thing. This is more those capital projects, those large expenditures, where council itself is specifically taking action to expend funds. Any other questions? All right. It'll be a work in progress, as all things are that are new, so feedback is welcome as we move along. The other item I just wanted to acknowledge and report tonight is that we did hear some official correspondence from our friends in Lower Makefield, from their manager, Kurt Ferguson, acknowledging that the agreement with Lower Makefield Pool that allowed Yardley Borough residents to join at the resident rate is no longer in place. It does allude to the idea that if we wish to enter some new agreement, they would be open to those discussions. Personally, I'm not hopeful that we'll see a return to that agreement, but just wanted to acknowledge that piece of correspondence for the record. That concludes my report this evening. We have no other agenda items listed, so unless a member of council would like to raise an item now, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn. All those in favor? Aye. We adjourn. Thank you.
Cool. Yeah. I guess you get used to it first?
Yeah.